For over 50 years, the Zodiac Killer has haunted the streets of California, leaving a trail of terror and unanswered questions. But what if there's more to the story than we know? Join us as we delve into new clues and theories that could finally crack the case. Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a chilling true crime story. San Francisco, the late 1960s, a city alive with music, change, and revolution. But beneath the surface of free love and protest signs, a darkness crept in, a predator with a taste for terror and a talent for disappearing. On December 20, 1968, two teenagers, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, were parked on a quiet stretch of Lake Herman Road. It was supposed to be a simple date, but before the night ended, they were both dead, shot at close range, execution style. No witnesses, no motive, just fear. It was the beginning of a killing spree that would terrify Northern California for years. Over the next 12 months, more couples would be attacked. Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau were shot in a parked car in Vallejo. Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell were stabbed at Lake Berryessa. The killer even wore a black hood with a white crosshair symbol on his chest, taunting them before he struck. Brian survived. Cecilia didn't. Then came the murder of Paul Stein, a San Francisco taxi driver. Unlike the others, this wasn't in a remote area. It happened in a residential neighborhood in broad daylight. Witnesses saw a man leaving the scene. The killer even mailed a portion of Stein's bloody shirt to the San Francisco Chronicle. That was the Zodiac's signature. He didn't just kill. He wanted attention, control, and he got it. He sent letters, cryptic, mocking, and terrifying, to newspapers and police. In them, he bragged about the murders, threatened school children, and included ciphers filled with symbols that seemed to come from another world. At the end of every letter was his calling card, a circle with a cross through it, like a target, a symbol that became his identity. He claimed to have killed 37 people. Only 5 were confirmed. But every time a new letter arrived, panic rippled through the Bay Area. Schools closed. Parents kept children home. Police were overwhelmed. And the media couldn't stop printing his words, feeding the very fear he craved. And then, just as suddenly as he appeared, he was gone. The case would go unsolved for over 5 decades. Suspects came and went. Tips flooded in. Letters continued, some confirmed to be authentic, others dismissed as hoaxes. But no one was ever arrested. No one was ever charged. And the man behind the mask, behind the ciphers, the threats, and the murders, was never identified. But in recent years, that silence has started to crack. With advances in forensic technology, cold case detectives began re-examining evidence thought to be dead ends. DNA analysis, once limited by the tools of its time, began to yield new possibilities. Touch DNA, the skin cells left behind by contact, was extracted from envelopes the Zodiac had licked. Partial profiles emerged. Incomplete, yes, but enough to rule suspects in or out. In 2021, a team called the Case Breakers, made up of retired law enforcement, journalists, and military intelligence, made headlines. They claimed to have identified the Zodiac as Gary Francis Poste, a deceased Air Force veteran with a criminal history and disturbing behavior. Poste had a scar on his forehead that resembled one in a Zodiac police sketch. He had military training. He had access to photography equipment, a potential way to forge or alter images and evidence. In his attic, investigators reportedly found dark rooms and strange writings. Former associates said he confessed to killing people. Some even claimed he led a group, a kind of twisted gang, who helped cover up his crimes. But despite the headlines, police departments in San Francisco and Vallejo didn't confirm the match. The DNA from the Zodiac's letters remains inconclusive. Without a full profile, confirmation remains out of reach. Still, Poste isn't the only name whispered through the Zodiac investigation. Arthur Leigh Allen, a convicted child molester, was long considered a prime suspect. He lived near the crime scenes. He wore a Zodiac brand watch. He had an obsession with codes. He even told friends he liked the idea of killing couples. When police searched his home in 1972, they found weapons, bombs, and disturbing writings. But they didn't find conclusive evidence. The handwriting didn't match. The fingerprints were off. And eventually, DNA from one of the Zodiac's envelopes ruled him out. Other suspects included Richard Gajkowski, a journalist with ties to the Bay Area, and even Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber who once lived in California. But no theory has stuck. No name has ever satisfied every piece of the puzzle. And the puzzle is filled with shadows. The Zodiac ciphers remain some of the most complex ever sent to the media. The first one, the 408 cipher, was solved in 1969 by a schoolteacher and his wife. It revealed chilling thoughts. The killer wrote that he murdered for fun, that it was more thrilling than hunting wild animals, that when he died he would be reborn in paradise, and that his victims would become his slaves. It was a manifesto of madness, but it didn't reveal his name. The second major cipher, the Z340, took over 50 years to crack. In December 2020, an international team of amateur code breakers finally solved it using modern computing and pattern recognition. The decrypted message was just as terrifying as the first. The killer mocked police, declared he wasn't afraid of the gas chamber. Once again, he promised more violence and offered no name. The remaining ciphers, Z13 and Z32, are shorter and potentially more revealing. Some theorize that one of them contains his true identity, but they remain unsolved. Cryptographers and AI researchers continue to analyze them. Some even believe the codes were deliberately unsolvable, meant to taunt, not inform. But every clue brings new possibilities. Recent studies suggest Zodiac may have used a cipher based on a personal system, possibly influenced by military codes or ancient alphabets. Artificial intelligence is now being used to scan for deeper linguistic patterns, misspellings, slang, and idiosyncrasies that might point to a region, a profession, or even a name. While investigators chase the killer's identity, the families of his victims continue to chase justice. David, Betty Lou, Darlene, Cecilia, and Paul were more than names on a list. They were children, students, parents. People with futures stolen in moments of senseless violence. Their families never gave up. They continued to write letters to newspapers. They attended hearings. They kept their loved ones' stories alive when the headlines moved on. Brian Hartnell, who survived the attack at Lake Berryessa, described the moment the hooded figure emerged. He said the man spoke calmly, almost robotically, claimed to be an escaped convict, tied them up, then without warning began stabbing. "I played dead," Brian later said, "and I prayed." That single act of survival may have preserved the clearest account of the Zodiac's demeanor: cold, methodical, deceptive. Even decades later, the scars remained. Brian would go on to become a lawyer, perhaps searching for justice not only for himself but for others. Other families created scholarships, memorials, and foundations. They turned grief into purpose. But the pain never left. Why did he do it? Why them? And what stopped him? The Zodiac Killer's disappearance is as baffling as his crimes. After 1974, the letters stopped. No confirmed murders. No sightings. Nothing. Did he die? Was he arrested under another name? Or did he simply stop, satisfied with the terror he'd created? Some theorize that the Zodiac moved elsewhere, even continuing his crimes under a different moniker. Others believe he blended back into society, living an ordinary life among the very people he once hunted. His influence, though, never faded. The Zodiac Killer became a cultural myth, a bogeyman. Films were made, books were written. Songs, TV shows, and documentaries explored his crimes in obsessive detail. He inspired fictional killers, and disturbingly real ones. The fear he created changed how we see the world. He made us question safety in public places, trust in law enforcement, the reliability of justice. He showed us how a single person, armed with nothing but rage, planning, and a typewriter, could terrify a state. But recent developments have reignited hope. A previously overlooked suspect, a postal worker who lived in Vallejo, has come under new scrutiny. After his death, a storage unit tied to him was auctioned off. Inside, investigators found military documents, ciphers, a Zodiac watch, and a notebook filled with strange symbols and diagrams. A handwriting expert reviewing the notebook noticed peculiar similarities to the Zodiac script. Not a perfect match, but enough to warrant deeper analysis. The man's movements matched key Zodiac timelines. He had military experience. He was quiet, solitary, and obsessed with cryptography. Some say he even joked about being the Zodiac. The notebook is now undergoing forensic examination. DNA, ink dating, and pressure analysis may reveal when the entries were made and whether they align with the known letters. It's still early. Police haven't released the name. But privately, some within the investigation believe this could be the closest they've ever come. One detective, speaking off record, said, "There's something here. I don't want to get ahead of it, but we're not dismissing it." After all these years, could the Zodiac finally be unmasked? The answer may lie not in dramatic revelations, but in quiet persistence. The patient work of scientists, investigators, and citizens who refuse to let the case die. Because justice doesn't have a deadline. And the victims deserve more than mystery. They deserve answers. The Zodiac once wrote, "You will never catch me. I am too clever for you." But he didn't count on time. He didn't count on DNA, machine learning, or the tireless resolve of those he hurt. And he didn't count on you, the viewers, the readers, the generation that won't let this story fade into silence. Maybe he's still out there. Maybe he's gone. But the truth is still waiting. Thanks for watching, guys. Please remember to like and subscribe for more chilling true crime content. See you in the next video.